Tiptoe lived up to her name. She liked to think that she was the quietest pony that ever played hide-and-seek, although Bluebell, from Class 2B, re-owned the champion of the playground. Still, she reckoned not even Bluebell could have stuck out of her tent without waking any of their tent mates, which had to count more than just winning games in hide-and-seek, right? Outside, the air hummed with the sound of cicadas. Tiptoe paused just to make sure no pony was awake to see her scurry across the meadow towards the toilet tent. It was one thing to need use the bathroom in the middle of the night because of scary stories. It was another to be caught by calling a baby for the remainder of the trip. She used the tent to re-emerge with a sigh and shiver. There was a nip in the air. Her mummy would have said that she needed a scarf, maybe. That was just once. Mummy was right. Tiptoe picked her up back her way towards her tent, hoping she could fly back inside, snuggle into her sleeping bag before any ponies that she realized it was gone. Philly Scout rules said that it was supposed to have awoken the tent leader and be escorted to the bathroom, but that was far too humiliating to prospect. However, when the strange pony stepped in her path, she wished that Charmer was by her side. Charmer was a unicorn, and nothing seemed to scare her. Sometimes there was even nothing more than frightening to be a tiny earth pony, without no one else around to remind you that you have no wings or magic. She squeaked. Surely she hadn't seen any pony there a second ago. She had checked, and this pony wasn't a Philly Scout leader, either. Tiptoe had just seen her before in her life. She cowered down in the grass. The pony was tall, moonlight turned into a genderless silhouette, but it was when it spoke. The voice was unmistakably female. "Are you Tiptoe Bilberry?" Tiptoe cowered even louder, then stopped. No, she would act like a Charmer. Nothing scared Charmer. "What's it you want to know?" "Are you?" She stuck out her bottom lip. "I can tell you, you're a stranger, and if you don't leave right now, I'm going to scream, wake up every pony, because strangers are not allowed in our campsite. We rented this field. It's ours till next Thursday." "I could feel the blood bond," the stranger said cryptically, ignoring Tiptoe's threat. "Yes, you definitely who I've come for." "Come for?" Tiptoe repeated, less certainly than before. She took a step back and opened her mouth to scream. But before she could, hooves clamped over her mouth. She stared wide, terrified eyes into the face of the bigger pony. How in Celestia's name had moved so fast? "I'm sorry, kid. I know this isn't your fault." Tiptoe tried to struggle as the mare carried her away, but she held too tight and they moved too fast, in what seemed to be a few heartbeats. They were out in the field, barely a bump, when the mare opened the gate fence and left it wide open. Then again, the mare said in the same flat tone, "It wasn't my fault either. It wasn't any of ours. This is just the things that have to be, and for what it's worth, I'm sorry, Tiptoe, kid." She corrected herself. "I'll remember your name. I always remember the names. At least I can do." Tiptoe tried to cry out as the pony drew her back, then hurled her over to the air, and as easily as if she was throwing a baseball, she sailed over to the edge of the quarry of the neighborhood into the campsite. The Philly Scouts had been told on the very first day not to leave the field and definitely not to wander too close to the edge. That's why they were supposed to leave tents in pairs at night. As she fell, she saw the mare poised on the edge, forelegs still outstretched. Her whole body was highlighted in the moonlight. Her fur was white as Tiptoe's of her own, but her eyes were red as poppies. And then Tiptoe hit the rocks at the bottom, and no one knew more. Finley stared down at the tiny broken body. It didn't get any easier. She turned away. The image burned into her mind. So many dead children who have left needed to die. She could feel them. It was faint, useless, and she concentrated. But she could feel them. Her minds, noblest to the appearances, dotted around Equestria. She couldn't pinpoint townhouses or towns unless she was much closer. But if she concentrated, she could pick up directions and just keep walking until her mind's concealed into something more substantial. Voron's last gift, or it may be the same with all vampires. She was the head of the bloodline now. It made a twisted sense of her stability to sense his children would pass to her. His eldest now was gone. It all made a wimpling trace of him that made it so much easier. She couldn't take the risk. Every single one of the foals Veron and Willem had made was a threat to Equestria. Every single one has the potential of becoming a vampire, or at least to very pass on the vampire gene. She couldn't allow that. Veron's plans would not be allowed to come into fruition. It was her only reason for carrying on. And now the spellbook she might have been used to tamp down the vampirism again and burnt up all the practices rooms 2 years ago. Her life in the sun had burnt up with it. Not all she wanted that life if it did have Octavia in it. She needed a reason why she had to survive. She needed everything she had suffered to loss not to have been for nothing. And so she followed the minds of what she could feel. She traveled so far as she needed to do, and what needed to be done. Gradually a number of minds. She could feel her own getting smaller. With each every life snuffed out, the number grew still. When she could feel no more at all, only when she allowed herself to rest, only then her life would have had been meaning. A thin band of light skimmed down in the horizon. Soon the Philly scout campsite would be awake. Soon they would realize Tiptoe was gone, and they would have to look for her. Find the open gate, discover her body at the bottom of the quarry. An accident, they would say. A tragic, terrible accident that would have been prevented if only she had woken her tent leader when she got up in the middle of the night. Vinley was well practiced in making crime scenes look anything like they were. Not yet, she whispered to the soon-to-sun to rise. She sprinted away too fast in the mortal eyes. I still have work to do. When all of her father's offspring were gone, then she could rest. I'll see you then, Tavy. Wait for me, love.